No one on that plane knew the small girl in seat 14C was a pilot. She looked like every other kid on the flight. She had a backpack with a cartoon cat on it, a small blue notebook, and a soft toy bird tucked under her arm. Her feet did not touch the floor. Then the captain fainted at 34,000 feet, and the crew heard a calm young voice on the radio, talking to two F-18 fighter jets like she had done it 100 times before. It was a Thursday morning, June 4, 2021. Flight Sky Air 622 left Denver at 9:10 a.m., heading to Chicago. In seat 14C sat a girl named Maya Bennett. She was 12 years old, small for her age, with short black hair and round glasses that always slipped down her nose. She wore a plain gray jacket and jeans, nothing special, nothing that would make anyone look twice. Beside her, on the tray table, was a small notebook where she was drawing clouds and writing little notes about the weather outside the window. Next to the notebook sat her soft toy bird, worn at the edges, with one wing a little loose from years of being held. To the flight attendant, Grace, Maya looked like any other child flying alone. Grace had checked on her twice already, the way airline rules ask for unaccompanied minors, and both times Maya had smiled politely and said she was fine. To the man in 14A reading his newspaper, she was just a quiet kid. To the woman across the aisle, she was a girl who liked to look out the window a lot. No one saw anything unusual, because there was nothing unusual to see. Nothing to suggest that under that plain gray jacket, this 12-year-old girl already knew more about flying a plane than most adults ever will. Her name was Maya Bennett. She was in 7th grade at a small school outside Denver. Her teachers called her quiet, careful, and very smart, the kind of student who asked questions that made adults pause and think. She was flying alone to spend the summer with her grandmother in Chicago. That was the story anyone could see from the outside. But if someone had looked closely at her small blue notebook, past the cloud drawings, they would have found something strange for a child her age. On the last few pages, in tiny, neat handwriting, were notes about airplane engines, emergency steps, and radio call signs. Blue ink for things to remember. Red ink for things to practice. She had been reading these notes quietly since the plane took off, the same way she read them almost every day of her life. Because Maya Bennett was not just a girl who liked planes. She was a real student pilot, trained since she was very young, with real hours in a flight simulator and real hours in a small training aircraft, and a special student pilot license given to her by the Aviation Authority after they tested her and could not believe what they found. She had passed pilot knowledge tests that grown adults often fail on their first try. She had done this quietly, without telling anyone at school, without wanting any attention. This is how it happened. Maya's father, Daniel Bennett, was a pilot for the Air Force before he left to fly cargo planes for a private company. Her mother had been a nurse who worked with the same company, taking care of pilots during long flights. From the time Maya was a baby, planes were part of her world. Her father would talk to her about wings and engines the same way other parents talk about cartoons and bedtime stories. When Maya was 4 years old, her father built a small flight simulator in their garage. It was not a toy. It had real switches, a real control stick, and real training software used by actual flight schools. He set her in the seat and began to teach her, slowly and patiently, the same way he had once taught young pilots in the Air Force. He taught her what each dial and light meant. He taught her how to read speed, height, and direction. He taught her what to do when the engine sounded wrong, when the weather turned bad, when something on the plane stopped working the way it should. He never spoke to her like she was too young to understand. He always said the same thing to her, again and again, until it became part of how she thought, anyone can fly when everything is fine. A real pilot is someone who stays calm when something breaks. By the time Maya was 7, she had spent hundreds of hours in that simulator. By 9, she had passed her first written pilot test, the kind normally taken by adults learning to fly. The Aviation Authority did not believe the score at first. They tested her again in person, watched her answer question after question calmly and correctly, and finally agreed to give her a special, closely supervised student license. It had almost never been given to anyone so young. At 10, she began flying a real small plane, always with a licensed instructor beside her, always following strict rules. At 11, she flew her first solo flight, with her instructor sitting quietly in the other seat, hands close to the controls but never touching them, because she never needed help. By 12, sitting in seat 14C on Flight Sky Air 622, Maya had more real flying hours than many people expect a child to have in a lifetime, and she understood emergency steps for planes she had never even touched, because her father had made sure she understood the reasons behind every rule, not just the rule itself. None of this showed on her face as she sat quietly, drawing clouds and eating the small cookies Grace had given her. She was 12 years old on a 2-hour flight, and there was nothing to do but wait and watch the sky, until 10:47 a.m., when everything changed. The first thing Maya noticed was not a sound. It was a feeling. The plane tilted forward, just slightly, in a way most passengers would never notice through their seats and the hum of the engines. Then it corrected itself, but shakily, not smoothly. She lifted her head from her notebook and went completely still, the way she had learned to do whenever something in a plane felt wrong. A moment later, a scream came from the front of the cabin. Grace ran forward, her calm face suddenly full of worry. The plane dipped again, more this time, and the overhead bins rattled softly. Then the speaker clicked on, and a young, shaking voice spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your first officer. We're having a small problem up here. The captain is not feeling well. Please stay in your seats. We are handling it." The voice cracked on the last word. Maya heard something no one else on the plane could hear. Not just the words, but the fear underneath them. Fast, shallow breathing. A voice trying very hard to sound strong and not quite managing it. She understood immediately, someone up front was scared and alone, and needed help. She closed her notebook, tucked her toy bird carefully into her backpack, and stood up. The woman in 14B looked at her, surprised. "Sweetheart, you should stay seated," she said gently. Maya looked at her for a moment. "The first officer is panicking," she said quietly. "I know what that sounds like. I need to help." Before anyone could stop her, she walked calmly toward the front of the plane. Grace was standing outside the cockpit door, knocking. When it opened, Maya saw exactly what she expected. In the right seat sat First Officer Ana Reyes, only 8 months into flying passenger planes, her hands gripping the controls too tightly, tears on her face. In the left seat, Captain Daniel Rowe, an experienced pilot of many years, was slumped forward, unconscious, his body having simply given out from sudden illness at high altitude. "Is there a doctor? Anyone?" Anna's voice was shaking badly. "I can't do this alone. I've never done this alone." Grace stepped in front of Maya. "Not now, sweetheart. Please go sit down." "I'm a pilot," Maya said simply. Anna turned, confused, almost laughing from fear. "A child can't." The plane shook slightly again. Anna's hands tightened further on the controls. Maya's voice stayed calm and steady, the same steady voice her father had used with her 1,000 times in the garage simulator. "Anna, look at me. You have 2 choices. Let me help you, or handle this alone. Right now, you are not handling it well, and there are people behind me who need you to land this plane safely. So which is it?" Anna made the only choice left. "Get in here." Maya stepped into the cockpit. She had sat in simulators and small planes many times, but never in a moment this real, this heavy. She felt the fear of it land in her chest, and then, just as her father had taught her, she set the feeling aside to focus on the work in front of her. She scanned the instruments quickly: speed, height, direction, engine numbers, warning lights. In a few seconds, she understood the picture. "Anna, first thing, breathe. In through your nose, hold it, out through your mouth. Do it now." Anna obeyed, and her breathing slowed just enough. Good. Now listen. The plane feels heavy because your trim is off. When the captain lost consciousness, he likely pushed against it. You've been fighting that ever since. It's not the plane that's the problem. It's the trim. She guided Anna's hand to a small wheel. Small turn, toward you. Just a little. Anna adjusted it. Do you feel that? Yes, Anna said, her voice breaking with relief. It's lighter. Oh my God, it's so much lighter. That's it, Maya said. You were flying a good plane with bad trim. Now it's fixed. From here, we take it one step at a time. For the next several minutes, Maya stood beside Anna, guiding her through speed checks, height checks, and direction, one clear instruction after another. Not vague comfort, but exact, simple steps, because she knew a frightened mind cannot follow big ideas, only small, clear ones. How are you this calm? Anna asked at one point, wonder breaking through her fear. My dad taught me, Maya said. He always says fear is normal. Panic is a choice. I choose to stay calm. Together, they decided the nearest safe airport was 60 miles away, with a long enough runway and medical help waiting. Anna declared an emergency, her voice steadier now, and air traffic control gave them a new path, one that happened to pass close to a restricted military training area. 60 seconds later, a new voice came over the radio, clipped and firm. Sky Air 622, this is Falcon Flight, 2 F-18 aircraft. We are approaching your position for identification. You are near restricted airspace. State your situation. Maya answered without hesitation. Falcon Flight, Sky Air 622. We are an emergency aircraft. Captain is unconscious. First officer is flying with assistance. Requesting clearance through your area to reach the nearest airport. Sky Air 622, who is transmitting? Identify yourself, the voice asked. Maya paused for only a second. She could have simply said, passenger. Instead, she told the truth, because it was the truth, and because her father had always taught her not to hide what she had honestly earned. This is Maya Bennett, daughter of Captain Daniel Bennett, former Air Force pilot. I am a licensed student pilot with real flight hours and training in emergency procedures. I am 12 years old. I am currently assisting the first officer with this in-flight emergency. There was silence on the radio for a long moment. Sky Air 622. Did you say 12 years old? Yes, sir. I hold a student pilot license, and right now I need clearance for this plane, because the captain in the left seat needs a hospital. Behind the cockpit, Grace had been quietly checking on Captain Rowe. At that exact moment, his head moved slightly. His eyes opened, unfocused but open, turning slowly toward the sound of the small, clear voice speaking on the radio. His lips moved. Who is that? Maya turned to him gently. My name is Maya. I'm 12. I'm a pilot, and I'm helping Anna fly the plane. You're going to be okay. We're landing soon. His eyes held hers for a moment, and the corner of his mouth moved, just slightly, before his eyes closed again, calm. Moments later, two gray shapes appeared outside the cockpit window, steady and close, one on each side. The fighter jets had arrived to guide them in. The landing that followed was careful and exact. Maya stayed beside Anna the entire way, calling out numbers and steps in a steady voice. Speed steady. Height good. Gear down, there, 3 green lights. Flaps down slowly. You're right on the path, Anna. You've got this. I'm scared, Anna admitted quietly as the runway came into view. Good, Maya said. That means you understand how much this matters. Now land the plane. And Anna did. The wheels touched the runway smoothly, and the plane rolled to a stop surrounded by ambulances and fire trucks. Anna broke into tears of relief, and Maya placed a small hand on her arm. "You did it," Maya said. "You flew the plane. That was you." Captain Rowe was taken to the hospital quickly and later recovered fully. The passengers left the plane shaken but safe, many of them crying, most of them not fully understanding yet what had truly happened above the clouds that morning. When investigators arrived to question her, Maya answered simply, "I helped Anna. That's all." When they pointed out she had also spoken to military jets and coached a full landing at age 12, she only said, "My dad trained me. He trained me well." Her father arrived less than an hour later, driving faster than he probably should have. When he saw her standing by the terminal window with her worn toy bird under her arm, he crossed the room and held her tightly, not saying anything for a long moment. "Did I do okay?" she asked quietly. "You did everything right," he said. "You stayed calm when it mattered most. That's all I ever asked of you." Ana Reyes later said that without Maya, she would have completely broken down in that cockpit. 6 months after the flight, she applied for advanced pilot training, writing only one line in her application: "A 12-year-old believed I could do this. I want to prove she was right." As for Maya, she kept flying. She kept studying. Years later, when she became a licensed pilot in her own right, she still kept a small worn toy bird in her flight bag, one wing a little loose, riding along on every flight, just as it always had. Whenever someone asked her about it, she told them the story of a Thursday morning, a quiet cockpit at 34,000 feet, a first officer who needed to remember what she already knew, and a 12-year-old girl who decided that being scared and being ready were not opposites at all.